Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Wanayuki Cheese Cafe. I am coming to you now on the corner of Saint Laurent Boulevard and Jean Talon Street. Now, I brought up a number of times that Saint Laurent Boulevard divides all the streets that intersect over here between the east and the west. So, for instance, if I was to go west over here along Jean Talon West, this would take me towards town of Mount Royal, Park X, and some microbreweries I know around the way, like Le Relais Boreal and Harry Canna. Or at least it did, because Harry Canna closed a month ago as I'm recording this, so what can you do? But if I was to go more to the east side over here, that would take me around the Saint-Michel area and into Rosemont, which is the area of Montreal that I know quite well from my childhood, as I brought up countless times on my channel. And I thought, I'm enjoying doing a lot of these wanders on the streets to see if I can explore, see the vibe of the different neighborhoods, and figured I could do this and share some stories from the past and maybe explore some brand new stuff. Okay, and I'm already around familiar territory here. This is Casgrain Avenue, which I've covered before around Mile End, talking about how that used to be the former garment district before it moved up to Chabanel and the Huntsic, but it's also the location of the Jean Talon Market, which is in between Casgrain and Henri Julien. So, as I already mentioned before, Sundays, that's like a home away from home for me, because I like to walk along Saint Laurent, find a coffee, come up here to get some fruits, vegetables, sometimes meat, or fish if I want to do a tartare at home, and make my way home. So it gets pretty lively over here, especially in the summertime. I'm just going to continue on a little bit further though, because I've documented this countless times already. So in terms of places I've been around before, right across from me is El Rey del Taco, which is, I guess, Spanish for Le Roi du Taco, or the King of Tacos. Great spot if you want to have some soft tacos. I feel like I had it with pulled pork, which is pretty awesome. I also know there's a Palomar, which is a raw seafood place I've been meaning to try out. I think 2 years ago I wanted to go there, except I was happening to go in on a Sunday when it was already closing, so I wasn't exactly lucky with that. Well, I know about the Ital Melody, like an Italian music store, considering this is within Little Italy after all. But I'm surprised to see that there's a Renault Bray, like right below Archambault. Did it rebrand and then I didn't notice it? Who knows?
Well, there was no reason to believe she'd always be there. But if you don't put faith in what you believe in, that's getting you nowhere.
I've now gotten onto the corner of Jean Talon and Saint Denis. What I remember from around here over the years is there are a couple of Asian markets I like to visit from time to time, because there's some ingredients I could find that over here that I wouldn't necessarily be able to get at my usual grocery stores. But if I was also going north, that means I'll be heading up the Eto Microbrasserie. Just as a reminder, this part of Jean Talon is a dividing line between the two boroughs of Rosemont, La Petite Patrie, and Villeray. Or I guess technically this is La Petite Patrie within Rosemont. Funny thing is that Presso tea is relatively recent, because up until 2 years ago, that had always been a Subway to my knowledge. So if I also go south along here on St. Hubert Street, that is a little stretch of commercial area that's known as Plaza Saint-Hubert. Goes from Bellechasse, Beaubien, Saint-Zotique, Bélanger, up to over here. There's a few nice places I like to go visit to grab a pint or a coffee, like Chez Ernest and Wonder Bar, among other ones. But if I was to go further north along here, there's a couple of shops around up until Villeray Street. One of the places I like to visit is Le Record, which is like a nice bar that's got a whole bunch of vinyl, music-themed events. Like even music I play, it goes as far back as the 1930s, so it's a pretty neat place to check out if you're into that thing. Well, I suppose I could bring up one more place that's around here. If I was to get to Saint Andre and go barely a block, this thing that looks like it's a former garage is the Melone Microbrewery. It's not one I really go to very often, but I guess because it's like hidden away, but when I do, I enjoy it. That building behind me with the orange roof is definitely unique architecture for this area. I feel like you would find that more around construction around Nouveau Rosemont or St. Leonard if you go further into the East End, where that kind of roofing is pretty common at the top. Oh, and this caught my attention too during one of my walks. A restaurant that's called Tasty Bits. Seems like it's an Indian and a pizzeria. I did make a joke once about maybe trying to get some pizza or maybe some fries or curry on it, so I suppose if I ever stop in there, then maybe that'll be a way to finally get that. Although Tasty Bits is actually a pretty funny name for a restaurant. This caught my eye on one of my last walks too. I've seen a lot of coffee shops and poke places that have opened up around here. And finally there's one where it seemed like they combined the two together, Maui Poke Cafe. I guess it makes sense because when you think about poke bowls, it's not Japanese, even though it's the same ingredients as sushi, so that's why I see them all together. But poke is a Hawaiian dish. And considering that I kind of want to get a coffee for a booster before I continue on, maybe I should go in here and see what it looks like. Satisfying. Yeah, like I said, can't believe all this time that this is the first time I've seen a cafe combined with a poke place. But hey, stranger combinations have happened before. All I gotta do is think of La Belle Tonki, where they have the combination of ramen, pizza, like Quebecois with Tonkinese cuisine. Anything can happen. Well, something else I remember passing by over the years is the Jean Talon Hospital. The main reason I would know of that is I was told that I think, I have to check my notes again at home, but I think my mom was born here back in the day, like around the 1950s, or maybe it's someone else in my family. I can't recall, so I still have a lot of notes to sort through. Now, speaking of La Belle Tonki, I forgot about this place over here. Looks like a man-woman burger that are walking together, singing and whistling along. I am gonna have to come here one day because the place is called Mange dans mon hood, which I guess is French for eat in my hood, or a neighborhood. From what I could tell though, I think it's the same owners who run this and La Belle Tonki. I think it's more greasy spoon over here compared to the other spot, so we'll see what it's like. Hand opened. Yeah, as if I'm a gangsta. I think there's one element that's easy to take for granted if you didn't live back in the day. It's if you're trying to find some stores, sometimes you have to look through the phone books and see for any listings around here. That's kind of what I had to do with my brother back in the day when we were going through our video game collecting phase. We would just look at the phone book, see the address of places that sold used video games, and then see how close they were and how accessible they were. I bring this up because on the corner of Jean Talon and Market Street, I don't know if it's me, but I feel like that store in back of me used to be a place that was called L'Idée Fix, that had a whole bunch of used video games. I think I only went there once, like sometime in the late 90s, early 2000s, but the main L'Idée Fix I knew of was the one on Hochelaga, on Ontario Street in Hochelaga. There was one on Masson for a little bit, which is now Cafe Pista, but I don't recall visiting that one as much. I think it might have closed down or moved at the time. Once again, another church with unique architecture around here. I feel like if you approach Papineau along Jean Talon, then you're going from Villeray border up to like the Saint-Michel borough. So it does change a little bit, because I feel like around here I'm going to see a bit more standalone homes as opposed to stacked row housing. But there's actually something else interesting to point out. There is a Delawa burger over here, which I have visited a couple of times over the years. I know that when I went to Villeray sometime last year, I did pass by the original location that opened up in 1929, I would say. This one, it's pretty nice. Basic burger, fries, nothing too fancy. I feel like that when I was walking around here in 2022, this barbershop amused me because they call it the Barbershop Bros, and I don't know how easy it is to see on camera, but it kind of looks like it's Mario and Luigi, but without their caps on. So I guess it does give you an idea what their hairstyle looks like. underneath the caps, they're just plumbers with pompadours. Who would have guessed it all? Oh, actually I'm getting a kind of a flashback too. Espresso Amara. Like, I'm getting a weird flashback that I feel like if I was coming to visit my grandmother before like a holiday, a family dinner, for some reason we drove all the way up to here, and I guess we'd take a look at a coffee machine for some reason. I don't know, it's like one of those weird things. I see the building and I have a vague recollection of it. I want to say too, I was playing the Game Boy at the time, like probably would have been Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins, because we didn't have too many games at the time. This is way before I got a lot of the other ones.
Honey, love, love, ooh, ease my mind. And I need to find time, someone to call mine. My mama said you can't hurry, love. No, you just have to wait. She said love don't come easy. It's a game of
Au Petit Buck Bar. Kind of an odd name, but I guess it is kind of a unique. The only thing around here is that, unlike some of the other parts of central Montreal, all the bars and cafes I found here are kind of like Italian style cafes where you can sit down to get an espresso and have a glass of wine and maybe an aperitif or digestive, I guess you could call it. The microbreweries and I guess the hipster places, not much around here. But I'm sure some have good stuff or good character that perhaps one day I can give it a shot. Maybe not the taverns, because I find as I get further along the east, it's real like old style taverns that your dad or granddad would have visited for a pint. I might have forgotten to mention this in previous videos, but once you get past Iberville Street, you're pretty much past the border that goes between La Petite Patrie and the general Rosemont area. Because after that you got Molson Street and then all the numbered avenues that are around here, which is the part of Rosemont that I know the best because of my childhood. So that means I should be approaching Saint-Michel Boulevard very soon. And I'm thinking that I have done a route like this way in the past, like in my 20s. Do you recall stopping up for a hot dog and fry over at some restaurant that probably doesn't exist any longer on Plaza Saint-Hubert, came up to Jean Talon and ended up all the way at Saint-Michel. So it just goes to show I was still a wanderer even back then, before I was filming all of my stuff. You might have seen a quick glimpse of it earlier, but there were some standalone homes like I was talking about, in addition to some older apartment buildings. That was the 10th Avenue I just passed by, so now, here we are. I'm now on Saint-Michel Boulevard, so 2 points of reference I could give you. If I was to go north, I'll be heading towards a flea market that's like around the corner of Saint-Michel and Crémazie, or I guess the Metropolitan Auto Route 2. If I was to go further up, like I might have mentioned around my Jarry Street wander, I would be very close to the Cantor's Bakery, like the only bakery that's still left of theirs, and close to the fur factory where my grandparents used to live. My grandfather, my grandfather. That's how my mom met. That'll be the main other thing. Or, if I was to go south, that would take me towards my grandmother's old area of Rosemont, and just a little further south would have been the old Esposito grocery store. I got demolished after it closed down sometime during the pandemic, but there are a couple of Espositos still around. But I guess I could go a little further eastward and see if there's anything else interesting I could talk about. Well, actually, there is one more thing I could bring up. I can't remember if it's within Jean Talon or if it's on Bélanger just south, but it's an area of town that's known as Little Maghreb, where you can find some restaurants, grocery stores. They're all part of I think Tunisian, Algerian, Moroccan cuisine, and you kind of know what I'm talking about. Maybe one day I should give it a shot to see what's around here. Lo and behold, Petit Maghreb is around here, because I'm seeing all the banners that are showing off the area. I guess one other thing I could tell you too is if I was to go further east, that would eventually take me to P9 Boulevard and further into the east end within Jean Talon. So if I was going to be wanting my older days, I know I would have taken bus 141 from the Saint-Michel station, and it could take me all the way up to Galerie d'Anjou, or even to Honoré Beaugrand subway station, which was or still is the terminus of the subway line on the Green Line. In terms of subway stuff too, most of the blue line between Park Avenue and Saint-Michel is along Jean Talon. And eventually, once they get the new extension of the blue line, it's going to go all the way there too. So it's a pretty busy street, and I know we'll be able to ease up a little bit of congestion. And so there you have it. This is my little tour of Jean Talon East up until Saint-Michel Boulevard with a few more blocks for good measure. I'll probably go a little further up eventually into St. Clair, but the truth is, it's still early in the day and I want to finish things up around here early. And because it's winter time, I'm going to be running low on battery power if I'm not too careful. So, not a bad way to show off another street that was familiar territory for me, while also sharing a couple of stories too. And I know that as time goes on, weather gets nicer, I'm going to continue some of these street wanders and show off how much I can walk once more. But until next time, thanks for watching this latest edition of the Wanayuki Cheese Cafe. So if you like what you see, you know what to do. Yep, you got it. Hit that subscribe button below. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoy the wanders, my stories, explorations, and everything that comes with it. And if you have any ideas for future episodes, leave in the comments. I'll see what I can do. Until then, take care everybody. See you next time, and enjoy the ride.